welcome to episode 3 of the Turbo Silverado. Now, a lot has happened between last video and this video. My 18 Silverado that I'm driving right now, I crashed that. And not only that, but the Turbo Silverado last weekend started out like this. And unfortunately ended up like this. So instead of doing cosmetics today, I'm gonna have to tear down the right valve cover. It's got Gen 4 internals in it, ARP head studs, a bunch of other ARP related accessories just throughout the engine. It's got BTR, cam, valve springs, and apparently the valve train was gone through along with refreshed at the bottom end about 2,500 miles ago. Now, I'm hoping it's something as simple as a broken valve spring, because that'd be really easy and I don't have to pull the head off for that. I had to have it towed back home, which is kind of unfortunate. Also, there will be some more C5 content here in the next couple months or so. As soon as this snow heads out, it's still cold and they're still salting. But as soon as that's gone, I did have my 390s put in. Biggest improvement ever in the car, in all honesty. The car had the stock 342s before that with long tubes of cold air intake, an LS7 clutch, and some other very, very minor things. I gotta say, the 390s truly made the car worth driving. Before the 390s, third gear and on was kind of useless. Third gear ran out to over 100 miles an hour. We had to shift fourth to get through the quarter, but you weren't really using fourth, and it didn't pull all that great in fourth gear. I mean, it was a fun car, but it just wasn't all that above second gear, and this completely changes that around. I believe 390s are about 11% shorter than a 342, and it's incredible. That difference made in that car, I'm very glad I didn't keep the stock gears. I'm also glad that I didn't go for 410s. I feel like the 410s just would have been a little bit too much for the amount of highway driving I'm doing. I feel like the 390s just really hit the nail on the head. I'm not boosted, I'm not cammed, and honestly, it's going to be a lot more fun. I think I'm at my point of my mechanical end of modifications with the C5 until I let that car go and buy a C6, because the LS3 is so much more capable, and the C6, you can go so far with a C6, whereas the C5 just isn't quite there, and you're going to end up spending similar money. The LS, as many of you may know, especially the LS1, the first one to ever come out of the whole LS or L family, so to speak, it loves the high RPMs. That car pretty much doesn't make power until after 3,500 RPMs, and the problem is keeping it in that power band and keeping it pulling above second gear. And these 390s absolutely crush that. I think that it's perfect. Third gear is so much more usable. I can run it through second, shift third, and I don't feel the die out of that 25-year-old car. I went through Texas Drivetrain, and between that and labor, it's about $2,500 for a rear end to have it set up correctly. And set up correctly it is. It hooks both up, lights them right up. There's no sort of wait. There's no sort of wondering. You know that rear end's hooking up, and I'm very impressed with that. The 373s that I have in the turbo truck with the Detroit True Track locker is very similar to the way that this is set up, just on half the power and about 3/5 of the weight. So it really works out great. So to start, we can still get this valve cover off without taking the turbo off. So that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to pull all the coils, and we'll see how all this goes. So I guess all I can do is tear in. I believe to take off the whole coil rack, we just have to loosen this, and then I think there's one back there that I'm going to have to get to. And we should be good. I just have to pop the coils off before I pull this. So this is the coil cluster that I just pulled off of there. It was pretty much 3 bolts, 1, 2, 3 main bolts. And I think there should have been a 4th one right there that was missing. I'll put one back in there. You can see a couple of the plug wires that I pulled out, but there's of course 4 plug wires, gets a V8. Now I just have to take these off, and we should be good. There's a ventilation tube here, and I have some new valve cover gaskets that should be here at some point today or tomorrow. So next we had 4 8mm bolts right here with the washers and the little O-ring clip seal things that are right here. Those are also coming in my pack. Little update, I took this off, pulled a couple fuses, turned it over, had somebody watch, and they're all moving and not making noise on this side. I am starting to worry that it is down below. But first, before I confirm that, I'm gonna take this valve cover off and put this stuff back on and at least confirm my theory before I decide what direction to go. So this side's back on, and now this side's coming off. I got a few of the bolts out, and we're gonna take the rest of this off and maybe even tidy a little bit of this up because it's pretty disgusting. This is the new valve cover that I just picked up. It's still loose, but I'll fix that too. So I have the second valve cover off here now. There's a couple things that I'm suspicious of. That being one of them. And then there's that being another, but I still don't think that that's the issue. If you're wondering what fuses I pulled the ignition and fuel pump. So I'm putting the valve cover back on here. Unfortunately, it is a lower end issue. So I'm not sure if I'm going to yank the 6.0 out of this and just take the heads and put it on another LQ4. Well, the heads and cam, of course. I'm not sure because this has 317 heads on it. Everybody claims these things are so bulletproof, but I get a hold of it for less than 1 week. And apparently 17 pounds of boost is just a wee bit too much for the old 6.0. The backstory on what actually happened here, I was doing some pulls with a couple of buddies. I dropped them off, and when I was on my way home, I heard a little clatter noise between like 1,000 and 1,500 RPMs. And as I was driving home, I didn't really hear it because the truck's mainly under boost. It's got a 2500 stall converter in it, and it mainly drives in the 2500 plus where it starts to build boost anyway, so I didn't really hear it. I get to the lights, that's the closest set of lights to my house, and I hear the noise again, but now I hear it at idle, and it's a consistent clatter, so it's like clatter, clatter, wait a second, clatter, clatter, so it's in a rhythm, and that makes me nervous, because usually when something's in a rhythm, it's going to get worse. So as I'm nearing 3 minutes from home, I can hear the noise all throughout my usable rev range. I kept it out of the boost to the best of my ability. I got it home, and I, being the genius that I am, decide I'm going to try to narrow down where this noise is coming from. So I grab the throttle cable and try to hold it where it's making this clatter noise, and I bring it to a consistent rev, I would assume probably around 2,000 RPMs. It goes clatter, 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 bang! And then it starts making this noise that you hear in these videos. Because of the series of events that happened, I think it's a wrist pin, might be a rod bearing. Honestly, I'm not 100% sure. I wish I had more for this episode. We will see where this takes us. I am in search of another LQ4 to maybe put these heads and cam in, and we'll see where this goes. If it wasn't this clean underneath, I wouldn't be trying to save it. I might put an NA motor in it just to have some fun with the thing this summer and continue a sleeper build, but with an NA vehicle. I'm not 100% sure, but it's unfortunate. It didn't give me any warning signs. In most cases, when an LS is about to let go, it'll give you warning signs like it'll start sucking coolant, or it'll start burning a bunch of oil, or it'll start leaking oil, or it'll not sound, or it'll lose power. This thing ran 100% until it didn't, and that's what kind of sucks about the situation. It didn't give me any warning signs, or I would have taken a different route and not hurt it as badly as I did. But here we are, and we'll see where this takes us. Thanks for watching.